Big gaming companies are starting to look a lot like big movie studios. Activision Blizzard's blockbuster franchise is Call of Duty, but its Modern Warfare 3 game topped $1 billion in sales in just 16 days. Now, Activision is hoping for a repeat performance with Call of Duty Black Ops 2 out this November. Eric Hirshberg runs Activision's publishing unit, and our senior West Coast correspondent Jon Erlichman caught up with him at the E3 conference in LA this week and asked him about the importance of the Gaming Expo.
We have a very focused strategy. We try to do a handful of things, and we try to do them exceptionally well. So, you know, a show like E3 for us is a little bit simpler because we're not selling a massive slate. We're coming out to market with a few things that we've really put a lot of thought and a lot of capital and investment and creativity into. We want to showcase them as big as possible. And if you've been to our booth, you know that we are.
Well, capital investment, I mean, you think of the Modern Warfare 3 numbers, it was like $1 billion in 16 days.
Yes.
And it's
hard to get your head around.
It is.
Yeah.
And now you guys are focused on Call of Duty Black Ops 2,
yeah.
November release for that. I mean, when you're sitting around the boardroom table and thinking about the kinds of numbers you could expect from a game like that, what goes through your mind?
Well, first of all, you never take anything for granted because, you know, you have to innovate every year and you have to bring the best game, you know, to market every single year. And, you know, we've got a pretty remarkable track record, and our developers are the best in the world who are working on the Call of Duty business. But, you know, you can never take anything for granted. So at the end of the day, we've got to bring the best game to market, you know, every time.
It's a violent game, but you also have a non-violent game, Skylanders, that has done incredibly well. I think you had talked about maybe the possibility that the revenue tied to Skylanders might get over $500 million by next year. I mean, can you give us an update on the financials tied to Skylanders?
Yeah, well, the Skylanders is year-to-date the biggest game in the world of 2012, which for, you know, a new IP is the hardest thing to launch in this business. If you look at the NPD top 10 selling games of 2011, 9 of them were sequels, including Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. So sometimes we benefit from that trend, but it's very hard to pierce that top echelon of sales with a new IP. The 10th was Skylanders. And you know, that is a pretty great achievement for us because it's very hard to launch new IP. And it wasn't just new IP, it was a whole new genre of play. You know, it was a whole new mode of playing with toys coming to life and a collectible toy universe that, you know, we had no way of knowing whether or not it would work because it had never been done before. So obviously here in the middle of 2012 to be the best-selling game in the world is pretty great.
So there are a couple of examples of big games. Then there's the whole world of social games,
yeah.
which really isn't the focus
of big games in that business as well.
Yeah, I think you had said something last year about the valuations in social media companies or social gaming companies being a little bit lofty. We've seen a lot of those stocks sell off more recently. What do you think now?
Maybe I should change careers. You know, look, I think there's always this sort of white-hot curiosity about new business models and new industries when they pop up. Of course there is. And sometimes, you know, the perception outpaces the reality. That said, I think there are a handful of companies doing really interesting things in that sector, and I think it's here to stay. I think it's a form of play that people are really embracing in meaningful numbers and with meaningful amounts of time.
Another big game for you will be The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
There is a big movie this summer,
yeah.
Amazing Spider-Man. That's no coincidence.
Yeah.
It is a different, it's not just taking the movie and putting it into a game,
yeah.
but when you think about how many games you want tied to Hollywood movies,
right.
What is it? I mean, is it 10%, 20%, 80%?
I think we do licensed properties, you know, pretty successfully. I think it's very hard to do that in our industry. It wasn't too long ago that having a big character from a movie was a big advantage in a video game. And today what's happened, I think the industry's matured and the creativity has matured in the industry to the point where the mythologies and the characters and the narratives that are born and indigenous to video games are many times more compelling. That said, I think that our developers at Beanox and High Moon Studios are doing games like The Amazing Spider-Man and Transformers Fall of Cybertron that are as good as any being done in the industry in that genre, and I think they could be sleeper hits. The Beanox game for Amazing Spider-Man you brought up is a great game. The Transformers game, if you haven't seen it, it's getting a lot of buzz. People are saying, like, you know, this one could sneak up on you. This looks pretty great. And High Moon Studios has done a great job with that one as well.
All right, we'll check it out. You're an LA-based company.
Yes.
You know Hollywood well. Yeah, I wonder if a company like Activision feels like at some point combining with one of the studios would make sense when it seems like the businesses in a lot of ways are parallel.
There's obviously a lot of crossover. I mean, entertainment is entertainment, and we're obviously all competing for the same leisure time and leisure dollar. At the same time, interactive entertainment is a very different form of entertainment. It gets compared to movies all the time. It has some things in common with movies. It also has some things in common with sports leagues and other forms of entertainment that are more far-flung from Hollywood. So I think that I understand the comparison because they both take place on a big screen. They're both very high production value, but it's a very different art form. It's a very different form of entertainment.